Legends Arceus will change the Pokemon franchise forever. Pokemon Legends Arceus launches at the end of this month, offering longtime fans a new take on this 25-year-old series. Set in the historical region of Hisui, before people in Pokemon learned to live together, the world of Pokemon is a treacherous place full of powerful creatures that are out not only to do harm to your companions, but this time to you too. We'll explore open landscapes, teeming with these mysterious creatures in order to investigate and learn all that we can about them, noting our findings and collating them to create the world's first Pokédex. To do this, we'll need to find materials in order to craft items that can help us on our journey, as well as aid in epic conflicts with the terrifying alpha Pokemon. We'll also have to master both the strong and agile fighting styles in order to give our team the best chance in battle with the frenzied, noble Pokemon. Now, that's all well and good, but can I really argue that one game can impact one of the best-selling gaming franchises so much that it will never be the same again? Well, to explain why I think I can, we have to look back on how we got here. Back in 1996, two games hit the Japanese markets, known as Pokemon Red and Green, with the improved Pokemon Blue version hitting shelves later that same year. 2 years later, the newer Blue version of the game was split into Pokemon Red and Blue and released to Western audiences. Combined, these games have grossed to date almost $2 billion with a B when adjusted for inflation, and successfully launched what would become the largest media franchise in the world. Since then, we've had 7 new generations, each offering incremental improvements on gameplay and balance, such as introducing new typings, held items, abilities, weather mechanics, double battles, triple battles, rotation battles, horde battles, sky battles, inverse battles, battle royales. Okay, so not all of the changes have been drastic or groundbreaking. But is that all that surprising? Mainline Pokemon games are almost forced to remain consistent and free from deviation. Partially due to not wanting to change the multi-billion-dollar formula, but also because of the speed at which new games have to be released. We've had a new mainline release every 1 to 2 years since the series' inception. That's on par with something like sports franchises made by someone like EA Sports, who as a company have 60 times the employee count of that of Game Freak. Unfortunately, that release schedule can never be slowed. For the main series games themselves, make up but a fraction of the media empire that is Pokemon. TV series, movies, card games, mangas, spin-off games, jet planes, merchandising, which alone makes up 75% of the franchise's total revenue, but together they make up this media Goliath, and every one of them relies on the swift release of new games for one main reason: Pokemon designs. On average, each new generation brings with it around 100 new Pokemon. That's 100 possibilities for Ash's new team, 100 chances to make a card that people will hunt for, 100 options for that plush that people just have to have. If a game is ever delayed, the whole money printing machine that is Pokemon comes to a grinding halt, and that cannot be allowed to happen. That's not to say there has been no innovation in the series. However, they all unfortunately boil down to what can only be considered as gimmicks. Mega Evolution, Z-moves, and Dynamaxing all came and all went without leaving any lasting impact on the series other than fans arguing as to whether they were even good mechanics to begin with. One thing that has come out of the 3D generations that do seem to be sticking around are regional variants, though this is arguably less something new as much as a reskin of something old and nostalgic, and simply a way to keep up with the 100 Pokemon per generation average and keep bringing back those older fans with your nostalgia bait. Regardless, the core of the games have always remained the same: setting out on a journey to collect and battle Pokemon in an attempt to become the region's champion. There was of course that time when they tried to remove gyms to shake up the formula, but in all honesty, these amounted to little more than an extended puzzle followed by a fight with a trial captain. Puzzles followed by a fight was all gyms were to begin with. Again, it's an attempt to deviate that was cut short by being shackled too heavily to the perception of what Pokemon is meant to be. Up till now, I have been talking purely about the mainline series, and there's a reason for that. Sure, games like Mystery Dungeon and Pokemon Ranger bring in all new mechanics, and games like Pokemon Snap and Unite can't even be considered the same genre. But do you know why they're not part of this conversation? Because no spin-off game has ever sold anywhere near close to the same figures as even the worst selling mainline game. they don't make nearly as much money and therefore aren't held to the same restrictions as the main series. Alright, but for the one exception. Pokémon Go reinvigorated this series. More than anything before or since. With over 1 billion downloads and making over $1 billion in 2020 alone, the impact of this one game to the Pokémon franchise as a whole is undeniable. I mean, there is literally a character in the newest anime series called Go. And what result did it have on the mainline games? Well, we got Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. And yes, Let's Go does count as a mainline game. Also, despite how divisive they are amongst the fanbase, they actually have many features that are being brought back for Legends Arceus. Pokemon in the Wild, which is still implemented better than the Wild area in Pokemon Sword and Shield, Fight Me, rideable flying Pokemon, different sized Pokemon, and having to aim Pokeballs. So we have a lot to thank Let's Go for, and if that idea upsets you, then that brings me nicely onto my next point as to why Legends Arceus is important, because the Pokemon fanbase sucks! Leave your salty responses to that statement in the comments below, and while you do, allow me to explain. It's no secret that the vocal part of the Pokemon fanbase have been on a crusade over the many years to seemingly hate everything Game Freak does. Let's Go, it's a dumb baby's game. Sword and Shield, bring back the national decks. BDSP, chibies are trash. And, if I'm honest, not all of the criticisms are undeserved. But I think people forget exactly how many people a Pokemon game has to accommodate. Consider that this one game series has to make sure that every one of these groups is happy and can find something they enjoy in a new mainline game. Collectors, breeders, shiny hunters, competitive battlers, story enthusiasts and theorists, challenge runners, explorers, minigamers, newcomers, veterans, solo players, those who play with friends. The world of Pokemon is so amazing because it has something for everyone. It's accessible enough for literal children, but has deep enough mechanics that you need a degree from an Ivy League school to understand it fully. And I just realized that joke works better written down than it does spoken, because I meant to say Ivy League, as in like EVs and IVs and not Ivy League, like the don't even worry about it. Regardless, considering how many people play Pokemon and want different things out of it, is it any surprise that we've had nothing more than progress through iteration over 25 years? To me, it seems like Game Freak have been making games with their legs tied together, forbidden from taking any real strides forward, through fears of disrupting the formula and upsetting the balance of the franchise at large, and even if they wanted to, they simply had neither the time nor the resources to do so successfully. The one time they were allowed to stretch their legs and go in a new direction, it was pushed down a path directed by the success of Pokemon Go and pushed out so frantically as to have no choice but to be another retread of Kanto. Again, not a creative choice, but one seemingly chosen by a focus group as to what would capture the interest and nostalgia of the widest audience. Legends Arceus matters because it feels like someone's vision. It feels like a game someone wanted to make. Is it taking elements from Breath of the Wild like many games are trending towards these days? Sure. But that feels less like an executive saying, hey, that was successful, do that, as much as the natural progression of where Pokemon should be going and has always been trying to get to. Pokemon has always been an open world adventure about exploration and discovery in a setting full of fascinating and dangerous creatures with a multitude of characters, all of whom have their own views on the world, how it should operate, and with their own ideas of what Pokemon mean to them. This is what Pokemon should be, and finally Game Freak aren't being hamstrung into following the same formula and repetitive story structure in a vain attempt to repeat the success that was Pokemania in the 90s and early 2000s. If we learn anything from Pokemon Go, it should be that an incredible amount of us still love this franchise and are still willing to get invested in it when it offers us something unique and innovative. I can't say if Legends Arceus will be a success or not. It's still stuck in the same release schedule I attributed to restricting Game Freak's ability to innovate, and it's still being made by a team a minute fraction of the size of its competitors with a lot of eyes on it, which means a ton of scrutiny. But it's finally something new. And succeed or fail, that's what it'll be attributed to. If it is a success, we may see those reins from Nintendo and the Pokemon Company loosen further, and Game Freak can continue to build games that can take the series forward. But if it fails, I fear the shackles will be slapped on harder than ever, and we may not see another game in the core series that breaks the mold for another decade. Legends Arceus is about to change the franchise forever. Let's hope it's for the best.